Another Tuesday, another weekly Arc Raiders update. As always, the mid-month updates aren't necessarily the most glamorous or appealing when it comes to content, but today's I think is worth mentioning for the changes and the insight that provided to us while we get ready and prep for Riven Tides. That likely coming in 2 weeks' time now. But drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all things Arc Raiders as we gear up for potentially the largest update to date in a few weeks and beyond. I'd love to have you in the community. Also, make sure you stop by the streams, likely live again as of tomorrow afternoon or sometime around then. But I'd love to chat Arc, gaming, whatever with you. But anyways, let's get into it. So today's update, update 1.24, was a more minor update, but with a few focal points that again are worth mentioning. This update being a bit smaller in general size, but still requiring you to have a slight download to deal with when you attempt to boot the game up on either Steam, Xbox, or PlayStation for the first time after this update. The only front-facing content addition today was the shop refresh that we see on a weekly cadence. The Nascosto set is that more low-key skin, attempted sort of camo looking at it with a slight ghillie feel to it, which does make sense given the Italian translation of the name literally means hidden, but anyways, the set comes along with 3 different color options, cosmetic toggles for the hood, mask, pads, tech, gloves, and flower, coming along with a backpack and a face paint. Now, discounts may apply if you end up having one piece over the entire set, but all in all, coming in at 1,700 Raider tokens. But again, that's front-facing. It's not something that's really that impactful in relation to the content added with this update. The more important things come along with the patch notes, the technical changes made to the game, and some announcements made along the way as well. Now, these patch notes, the 2 biggest things kind of sandwich the rest of this, but the first being they addressed several issues that could cause crashes. Now, this patch note, as of recording this, I personally haven't seen enough player sentiment just yet to know how effective this update was for this issue in particular. We talked about last week how it was still persisting for a lot of players because the mentioned fixes we saw last week were for visual bugs causing crashes, not the larger problems at hand that players were having at the time, where a lot of console players in particular were seeing their games crash mid-raid. Of course, players then either being able to reconnect or potentially losing their gear, but it's quite possible even if you reconnect, you could be out in the open where somebody could end up killing you, the Arc could kill you, so it's just a whole not great situation as is. So fingers crossed this has been something that does adjust that and makes this better for those players that have been affected by that. But again, as of the earlier time of the day of recording this video, it's still kind of a question mark on how effective that will be. If you've had issues with crashing, feel free to share your experience if this got better, if things are still kind of the same, or if they may have even gotten worse. Feel free to drop your thoughts. Now, the next few bullet points we can kind of breeze through because they are smaller updates here to this and smaller adjustments. They fixed an issue where the Vanguard set caused model stretching for other players. They fixed an issue that would cause players in Arc to sound quieter than intended when there's no line of sight on them specifically in Stellamontis, obviously problematic, especially in PvP engagements. They fixed an issue causing blurry visuals when AMD FSR frame generation was enabled. They fixed an edge case where ziplines could be placed on carryables located on the edge of a ledge, and then that player was below the ledge. That's something they've been trying to tackle for a couple of different patches now at this point, those zip lines on carryables. They fixed an issue where hold to use items such as bandages could be activated automatically if a quick slot swap was interrupted by pressing the fire key. It's kind of the opposite of the delay bug that we saw adjusted last week, but this in a more buggy case rather than just being quick use and trying to actually use it. Like, it was a sort of input case where it was glitching one out over the other. But the final patch note here for this, again, sandwiching the rest of this patch between the first and this last one, was that players who contributed to the Weather Monitor Station project but couldn't complete it in time, please check your inbox in-game in the next few days. Also, a reminder that the High Gain Antenna project will expire before the Riven Tides update. Now, this in particular is an interesting patch note for 2 different reasons. Number 1, this acknowledges a bit of fault on the timing of the Weather Monitor project and how it just kind of went away. For those unaware, it was mentioned pre-launch that most projects would not have limited times on them, or if they did, there would be an exceptionally long period for you to be able to take advantage of those. Like the Trophy Display project, that was something that was introduced in the Headwinds update on, I want to say January 27th or something like that. That's still ongoing and shows no signs of being removed just yet. But they also mentioned pre-launch that those that would be removed would have adequate time and heads up to allow players to get through that without missing out on that content. But the Weather Monitor project was abruptly removed with the last update of the Flashpoint, kind of going against both of those rules set in place pre-launch. But the first bit of this is that it appears with the mention of checking your in-game inbox in the next few days, they may grant players who did not complete it fully either the remaining rewards or some sort of consolation or compensation prize as a sort of sorry about that type of thing, which I personally think is both a nice gesture, but also fair to players who did not get the opportunity to complete it. Number two, this also confirms in a real quick announcement, just stuffed in a patch note that may be something you just glance over because it's not a huge update, that the high gain antenna project will also be going away as of the next update, if not a little sooner, because they do say, as a reminder, the high gain antenna project will expire before the Riven Tides update. So it's something that could be next week. It could be something that is as of right before that update goes live, because that refresh technically cuts it off right before the update itself. So it could be one of those two. It could be ambiguous, but this is, to my knowledge, the first of the mentioned removals for this project that's kind of just tucked away inside those patch notes. So while it's a bummer to see this going away, it's nice to at least have that heads up, something that historically I think that could be worked on a little more between the Expedition heads up, which we'll touch on in a second here, as well as what we just mentioned with the Weather Monitor project, that there really was no heads up for that. So nice to see that we at least know this is going away now, so you can complete that. It's only 3 pages, not too terribly tough to complete with a little bit of focused effort on it. But that also makes me curious to see if we will see this now being replaced with another unmentioned project on the roadmap. As we've talked about, every single update we've seen since, I want to say, Cold Snap has introduced us to a new project. Most recently, within this sort of window of the current roadmap, we had Headwinds being the trophy display project, Shrouded Sky being the weather monitor project, Flashpoint being the new high gain antenna project, and maybe we see one with Riven Tides. But anyways, that's something that you should definitely know of. There will also be a store rotation next week, it says, but no planned patch in preparation for Riven Tides coming at the end of April. They say the team is full steam ahead, polishing the last bits and bobs of new content and the map for players. So this likely being the last update video we have until Riven Tides. But let's talk about the future content here with us, because we've been inferring to that 2-week away mark is Riven Tides, which is basically all but confirmed at this point, with no update as of next week, being full steam ahead on the new map and content, because weekly updates happening here on Tuesday. They haven't broken that mold just yet, and well, we only have 2 Tuesdays left in April. So no update next week leaves that final Tuesday in April 28th being that sort of target, it seems like, and it makes a lot of sense also with the Expedition window opening up on the 29th based off the in-game timer. Now that said, what you can likely expect along the way, as of yesterday we saw our first official teaser of what we had for Riven Tides and the new map that will be coming along with that. We broke that down a little bit, but basically we got a few images plus a little bit of just a sort of excerpt from lore of a raider scouting out the area. I'd expect more of these to be coming in the next few days, but personally, my bigger hope when it comes to the immediate future and what we see for teasers for the upcoming update isn't necessarily pertaining to the update itself, but more so about the upcoming Expedition. Any changes we may see, what our rewards will be, what our target goal for that maximum return is, like if it's skill points, is our target for stash inventory going to be 3 million again? 5 million like the first, something else entirely? What I disliked about the Expedition number 1 was that there was minimal lead up time and prep for players when it was announced. I think it was like a week or so that we had where players had a little bit of a heads up on that they needed cash. If you didn't have it, you had to make this mad dash to try and get it. Expedition 2 was admittedly a little better. I want to say we had information about that about 2.5 to 3 weeks ahead of the Expedition window opening up. So right now we're past that mark and we're chipping away at that 2 weeks every passing second. So sooner rather than later would be better in my opinion. If you've played as much as me this season, you probably should be fine in whatever the rewards and expectations for the maximum yield will be, but there's plenty of players out there who did not and have not had the chance to stock up as much as others if they are interested. So that proper heads up would definitely be nice to have. But anyways, the lead up for Riven Tides is starting already and will continue on here, but as of today's update, small, nothing too glamorous, but with some impactful changes that hopefully should make the game more playable, while also giving the heads up on what you need to complete as of the next 2 weeks here. So that said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Linear thoughts down below. Is there anything in particular you guys liked out of this update? Anything you didn't quite like? Has this update fixed or resolved some of the crashing issues you may have had? Let me know your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Arc Raiders and even more FPS content. I'd love to have in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name's been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.